Oh my God, it's so funny the difference between being behind the camera and being in front
Yeah, I'm
of the
really
camera.
uncomfortable here.
Are you?
Mm-hmm.
What would it take to make you more comfortable?
To go like behind the camera and
Oh,
to
right.
ask you questions.
Okay, well, how about
can't do
you
that.
pretend you can pretend there's a camera here
Yeah.
and ask me questions anyway. And I'll ask you questions.
Are we recording?
Yeah, we're always
Okay.
recording.
Okay, let's go. Let's just dive in. Welcome to
Sage Takes Time.
Let's just say hi.
Yeah,
Welcome.
hi.
Hi,
Hi.
guys. Welcome to our beautiful set.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting a new podcast. And
Yeah.
what is it called?
It's called Sage Takes Time.
Yeah, Sage Takes Time. But time like the herb.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a pun in there in the spelling.
Yeah.
I think people will
Can
read
you,
that.
what's the pun?
The pun is that sage and wisdom takes time to come to you.
Yeah.
It takes a while to get the experience in order to have the wisdom that you need. But also, I love a little bit of Za'atar in my life.
Yeah.
You love sage.
I do love sage.
It's very calming and beautiful.
Yeah. And it reminds me of Sinai as well.
The Sinai?
Yeah.
Is there sage in Sinai?
There's, yeah. It's,
I didn't know that.
It's like all over. Yeah. Sage is like a really dominant plant, I want to say, maybe in Sinai. And it's one of the main herbs that the Bedouin use for, it's like very healing. It's very soothing. And being Egyptian, I just like acquired a love for the taste of sage over time. Over time.
Whoa.
I didn't even mean to do that. That's why this works so well.
This works so good.
We can tell people what's going on.
What is going on?
I'm sick.
It's the most unfortunate timing ever for the first episode recording of this podcast.
I have a cold. And I'm not used to being in front of the camera.
Yeah.
So I'm nervous.
Right. I'm used to being in front of the camera, but I'm used to bringing the like Instagram energy, you know, train in there, like Sabahu, what's up, guys? Like that's my vibe.
Wow.
And if I brought that today, and your energy is like, I'm sick, I just want to curl up, I'm like, we'd have two completely different experiences.
So are you trying to match my energy?
No, I'm just trying to bring less of my online energy.
Yes.
And more of my Amira and Elissa hanging out at home energy.
With tea.
Yeah, because that's the soul filling,
you
know, grounded thing.
That's our most authentic energy.
Yeah.
I think. Right?
Which is tough to bring when there's a camera, but at least right now, what whoever's listening or watching can't see is that we're surrounded by our amazing, beautiful crew of Womena family.
Womena production crew.
So we're on this couch because it's about damn time that we have a sort of platform where we're talking honestly and authentically as members of the Womena team. Up until now, all our content has been other people, honestly. And you guys have been following along. So you've seen all the other people. You rarely will see me in content. You definitely hardly ever see Amira in anything.
It's happened maybe twice. We're always behind the camera.
Yeah.
Behind a laptop, scripting something or editing something.
Yeah.
And I think we wanted to come out from behind the curtain.
Yeah.
And show people how it's done. Talk to people about like why we do what we do, how we do what we do, because we think it's important.
Yeah.
And we've developed like an approach to storytelling.
Yeah.
That is pretty unique.
Yeah, and also maybe like bring you guys into our world a little bit, into like the Womena world that we've built, that we're super proud of, that's very unique and like special. And it's just about damn time that we talk a little bit about ourselves, our community, our team, our visions, our goals, our issues with the state of the world.
Yeah, our journey also has been really interesting.
Yeah. And we're really good friends.
Yeah.
Also.
We've become very good.
Yeah. And I think a lot of what this podcast is going to do is create a space for ourselves to have a dialogue, to explore different things in our lives, things about the world, things that kind of represent our community, but the sage that we've each gotten over the years, over our years of experience and our crazy adventures together, is a type of sage we want to be able to share with the community.
Yeah, and to be honest, it was also just a catchy name, and we make content, so we wanted the name to draw people in, and make them curious. And it's not a cooking show, even though there's like ingredients, but they're for the soul.
Yeah, sage and thyme are ingredients to nourish the soul.
Who are you?
Who are you? Listen, who am I? I've been asking myself that question almost daily. I know that my name is Elissa Frieha, and I know that what I do is work at Womena. I founded this platform 11 years ago, and it's been a really wild ride since then. But who I am is still something in development, and I think something that I'm still discovering.
Yeah.
Who are you?
So, yes, hi, I'm Amira. I'm Egyptian. I've been living here for a very long time. And before that, I lived abroad for a little bit. So I feel like those two experiences are part of who I am. And also, I'm a former journalist. I did that for many, many years. And then now I do Womena also with Elissa. And we met like 6 years ago and started doing Womena together. And Womena basically is a feminist media platform in the Arab world that talks about women in and from the Arab world. And we do a lot of content and a lot of storytelling about a diverse range of women and telling their stories, hoping that their stories inspire other women, younger generations, even older generations. And that's what we do together. Joining Womena gave me, I didn't think I would be like in the world of like any kind of video production. I didn't really have that experience. Storytelling with like a little bit more of a documentary feel, a little bit more of like a deep dive into like people's stories and their personal lives. It's not something I thought I would get into, but that's what we ended up doing. And it's been 6 years. So now I'm a producer, director, executive producer, chief media officer of Womena, and we run it together, and we've done a great job. We've built an amazing team, and yes, we are a small team, so it's very familiar to me. We are a small team. We do a lot for a small team, but I feel like now, definitely, my skills have developed. I've learned a lot from the team, and vice versa. So, yeah, that's kind of where we are now. And I think doing this podcast is our way of like owning it more.
Yeah, I was thinking the word owning. I'll shake it in my head. I was like, owning it, owning who we are, what we've done, how far we've come. And the timing just makes sense. Also, we wanted to actually, 10 years of this company existing and all of the changes and the people and the stories that have come through the door, I feel like it's about damn time to kind of take a step back and look at what the hell we've done. What impact have we done? How do we do what we do? What is the knowledge and the sage that we've gained over time? There will be puns.
Elissa loves a pun.
I love a pun.
Yes. Former Womena, like sub-brands, were all a play on words.
Womena is a brand. Womena is a pun. There was Womedia. There was Womenta.
Yeah.
It's always a pun for me. It's always going to win. But I do see like now it's about time to kind of like own what we've done and lean into the discomfort of being in front of the camera, of telling people our opinions, sharing who we actually are or who we're learning ourselves to be. I think we found each other in as a type of like soul sisterhood, where we're both this third culture mix that has a bit of the Western in there and a bit of the Eastern in there. And there's also a deep love for our roots and our traditions and our culture that we both sought out to kind of like get more connected to. And Amira and I really connected on that level and then connected on values that are basically at the core of what we do at Womena. We connect on the importance of storytelling. We connect on the need for the voice of women, of this disenfranchised community that's very often spoken for and very rarely listened to. And from day one, we kind of clicked on the absolute need for creating a content platform and giving people a voice and amplifying those voices and highlighting all the beautiful different choices that there are in the world. A lot of what I do is about seeking inspiration from the women before us who have done cool things. You included, actually.
Also you. It goes both ways. I think when we started, we didn't exactly know where we would end up, obviously, but we started with a very focused vision, and it was very specific, doing the kind of storytelling that was a little bit more focused in kind of a different space than what we're doing now over the years.
It literally was like 1 minute video max about a different woman every time.
Every single day.
Different woman, different 1 minute video. Just populate the internet with names.
Social media. We were very like social media oriented with our content. And we were starting off kind of exploring the space of, at the time we were focusing a little bit more on like entrepreneurship and female
because we're both entrepreneurs too, so that was like the comfort zone.
We have that background, and it was also very big at the time.
It was like the hottest thing in the mid 2010s. Mid to late 2010s, there was nothing hotter than the entrepreneurial ecosystem in the Middle East.
There was a lot of like buzzwords, a lot of people founding things, which is still happening, and by the way has been happening before.
Disruption.
Even before the entrepreneurship label came, everything was being disrupted, and now we're calmer, thank God. Everyone's like chill.
Everybody's like drinking the sage.
No, but over time we broadened our scope of storytelling, the kind of women we speak to, the kind of women stories that we tell. And the more women we spoke to, like the more we kept like unearthing really, really interesting stories, really, really interesting perspectives. Seeing the impact that had on our community helped inspire our future strategies. So like year by year, we would kind of expand what we wanted to do, who we wanted to speak to, and the goals we had for ourselves and for the company. A lot of it was based on like the feedback that we were getting from our community, our audience, which is, albeit smaller compared to like really massive media platforms, but it's a very, very engaged, very dedicated audience that I think always tell us that they see themselves represented in our storytelling, which is our goal.
And our storytelling is really like way more substantial, to be honest, than like mainstream stuff or stuff that you find typically on the internet. It's a lot more nuanced. It gets a lot deeper. We talk to our audience like they have a brain to be able to understand stuff. We're not trying to like numb them. So it's not the buzziest, content. That's not celebrity content. That's just really like top level. And I think that's something that we shifted more and more towards. We were hungrier for deeper storytelling. They were hungrier for deeper storytelling. They would approach us with more complex issues that they wanted to bring up and we wanted to dive into over time. And don't forget, honestly, like before you came along, like Womena was a very dry, financy, businessy type of company where media was almost an afterthought. Content and storytelling was an afterthought. And
it was more like a marketing tool.
The online stuff was like just marketing for the activities, which were very like on the ground, people heavy, very business. It was a completely different company, actually. And we found each other at a time when I wanted to make that change, and when you saw the same gap and the need online, and it just kind of like came together with perfect timing.
We'll maybe tell the story of how we met, which is really cute and we think and interesting. And it was very serendipitous.
Is it interesting to other people, or is it just interesting to us?
I mean, it's relevant, even if it's not interesting. It's relevant, I think, to our story, because we met in a very specific moment when you were going through a transition with Womena, and as the founder of Womena, that you wanted to change how things were done. You wanted to change what you were doing within it.
I wanted to change everything.
You want to change everything.
But keep the name. I was like, the name's great.
The name is great.
The PR has been amazing. Like, people were really supportive of whatever we did. But actually, nobody knew what we did. They were like, oh, it's like that women Middle East thing. And I used that to my advantage. I was like, great, I'm going to switch up everything because I hate my life right now. And I'm going to build a really exciting company that does something that I find really exciting and that I'm passionate about. But I'm going to keep the brand. And as long as it falls under women and Middle East, everyone's gonna, they're gonna allow it to happen. No one's gonna be like, wait, you guys did such a hard left.
At the time, I think on a professional level, but also on a personal level, I was looking for a change also. I had done journalism for about 15 years and I wanted to leave. I didn't want to leave the storytelling and media space. I wanted to leave journalism. I was really like burnt out from it. And so we both met in exactly those moments in our separate like journeys. And that's kind of how we came together. And yeah, it's been 6 years of us now doing what we now call Womena 2.0, like this version of Womena that's existed since 2018, which is when we met and started working together.
She's the sage to my time. We bonded over the vision, to be honest. I think it all happened so serendipitously, where a mutual friend just that I had only met a couple times who knew Amira told her to reach out to me.
I stalked you a little bit.
She had apparently stalked, really?
I mean, like a forgivable amount.
Like on social media vibes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Womena, not like Yani. And you as the founder of Womena.
Yeah.
The first time we spoke was on a phone call after emailing back and forth for a while. And we talked for about an hour and a half. And we bonded because we both were talking about media and storytelling and what's missing in the market, or what was missing in the market at the time. And we weren't seeing being done, especially kind of storytelling that is focused on women and women that are like us, women in the region that we're from, and that are either still in the region or have like traveled and come back or moved abroad, like kind of had similar experiences to us. And we just felt like, what I remember from that phone call is we kept like bouncing ideas off each other of what kinds of stories need to be shed light on more, that the regular media platforms that were maybe either more focused on very newsy type stuff or very like lifestyle. Like when you thought of women at the time, it's like, oh, you're a lifestyle magazine. Yeah. It has to be like beauty and fashion and misharfa. And we just saw that there was so much more to talk about.
Yeah.
So that's what we bonded over.
Yeah. And she didn't even know, to be honest. I think you had reached out just in case there was a way that we could connect. And I was doing this transition towards media, but I was kind of still figuring it out. And I grew up, abroad. I grew up in France. And when I came to the region, there was such a lack of role models. I know that sounds so cheesy to say, but that was really a question I kept getting asked, like, who's your biggest role model? And like, I could only think of American. Yeah. I was like, Oprah, and I was really like struggling to find a real role model with any kind of shared experience who seemed realistic. And that was so frustrating, even in the early days of Womena, like we get pressed, but we were the only women in some of those magazines for like weeks on end that were profiled. So it was something that was just so obvious. And obviously we both talk a lot and we love exploring ideas and bouncing back and forth, which is why this podcast is like a long time coming also. But I think that first conversation, we both thought it was going to be like a half hour, and we were both driving to places, and I ended up sitting in the parking lot of Dragon Mart for like an hour and a half talking to you. And I was like, oh my God, who is this woman? She's way too freaking cool.
I was parked also. I didn't think it would take so long as a conversation. It's like, oh, this is our first chat. We're probably gonna like plan for a proper call. We were in different cities. I was in Cairo, you were in Dubai at the time. And so we thought maybe we'd like get together whenever we next meet, we'll have like the proper conversation. But then we ended up just talking about everything right there. And then when we actually met, it was a couple of months later, we kind of decided like we're just going to work together. Yeah, and it wasn't like an interview, and it wasn't like, it was weird. We were just already aligned on what we wanted to start doing, and what we wanted the vision to be.
At the time, I had already had about, I'd been working on Womena for about 4 years and a bit. And it was based on its name, it was a women-focused platform because there was a lack of resources for women in the space at the time. And there's always a lack of resources for women in most spaces across industries.
What is the space that you're talking about?
So we were like an investment management and financial literacy membership organization where we taught women to invest in startups, right? And then there was a lot of breaking through the glass ceiling by like men in their gray suits, and we're like young women here to like, bring female investors and their unique perspectives to startups who can benefit. Like that was kind of the thing. Turns out it was a terrible business model. I also am not really made for that industry. I would say not educated, but self-taught in investment. I was learning along with investors. For me, it was more about the gap that could be addressed. And I fell in love with the female community that I met through that. And I actually dove even deeper into women's issues in the region, in the world. What is the state of women? And this was a little bit before this third wave of feminism really kicked off in 2016. So the timing was really there. And then I just wanted more. I wanted more impact. I didn't want just the 20 investors or the startups that we'd invest in and helping them get money and hire people. I wanted really to impact millions of people. And I came from a background also in publishing. And I know that storytelling and media is a beautiful way to be able to communicate these things to people and really get to the heart of them. The one thing that like society has always had is storytelling. You know, millions of years ago, and cave people were sitting around the fire and they're telling stories. Like this is something that is just so deeply rooted in us. And the stories that we tell are so important. And I couldn't find stories that mattered to me as an individual on a personal level. I didn't feel belonging. I felt like an outsider. I didn't feel like I was being seen. And we kind of talked about that for like half. We find a lot of things really interesting, I think. And that was something that...
I think for me, to be totally honest, I was never, previous to Womena, I was not super focused on like gendering spaces or sectors or industries. And I was a journalist, so I would interview a lot of people. I didn't really like... I wasn't focused on just women. I was actually focused on like business reporting and the economy and then some politics and some culture and stuff. And so it wasn't like a focus of mine. And as a journalist or an editor, I would kind of be annoyed when people would ask me questions like, what is it like being a female journalist in the Middle East? Like, just shut up. Like ask again.
What is it like being
try
a
again.
woman in tech? Like, what is it like being a woman founder?
Yeah.
Must be crazy.
That's actually what I was...
You have a uterus and a business? That's
like
wild.
Right, and you're... I mean, I get the question because, to be honest, there are like added challenges. And as a journalist, I did experience weird things that I don't think like my male counterparts experience. So I didn't used to focus on anything that was like... I didn't work in like the space of like gender studies or like a feminist organization. I was a journalist that was writing about the stock market. Within that came like the entrepreneurship as it was really growing in the region, or there was a bigger focus on it in the Arab world. But I was not super focused on that, like the space where you would call yourself a feminist. I didn't used to label myself as a feminist. I didn't really think about it that much. There were things that I intuitively knew that were passed on to, like from my mother, from the women around me. I would see like power and strength and the need for independence. Like I kind of acquired that knowledge and those values. So we want to also talk a lot more about that and how that is reflected in the content that we create. The last thing I want to say is I'm going to again relate it to my journalism experience a little bit. But
really?
Generally in media...
Are you a journalist?
Yeah. There's this sense that people are taught that news or stories that they hear or whatever, like there's this like myth of objectivity.
Yeah.
And it's very important for people to understand that that's not a real thing. And we'll talk about that more.
Yeah.
Like you cannot really be super, super objective. And the myth of objectivity a lot of the time works in the favor of the oppressor and against the people that are more marginalized. And so what's more important is transparency. Hence this podcast. We want to be super transparent and show people where we stand on things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. Long ass answer to that question. Womena's celebrated its 10-year anniversary. I've been doing this for a long time. And it's
10
about
years
time.
Is a lot.
Yeah. I'm in my mid-30s and it's confusing because I don't know how I started this in my early 20s, but we're here. And it's so much cooler than I could have ever imagined.
You were a baby. You were so young. What made you like start a company?
Literally naivete. And kind of unabashed optimism and like ignorance, I think, about the realities of like the world. So I just didn't know, and I just wanted to be a founder, and
I wouldn't say ignorance. I think when we're younger, we have like a lot more aspirations that are uninhibited and that are maybe unstudied, but sometimes that's a good thing because you're more of a risk taker, which is how I see you, hence the time.
Thank you.
You're more of a risk taker, and you were very brave in the steps you took early on. You might not take those same steps now just because you have so much acquired knowledge and experience, but you couldn't have gotten here if you hadn't started where you did.
But that's what I'm saying about, okay, maybe ignorance was like an aggressive term, but I definitely feel like at my age now, I would not have the balls to do things as fully and wholeheartedly as I did when I was in my 20s. And I was like, yeah, cool, sounds great, let's just go. And obviously there was also, we both suffer from this, like a drive and a desire to do so much. So we ended up just pushing ourselves and pushing ourselves and pushing ourselves to do more and to achieve more. Whereas now I'm like, okay, like mental health and balance is important. So we're like, whatever. But it's about damn time to talk about it.
For me, there's like the Womena that we want to showcase, and we want to rep certain things and certain people. On a very personal level, though, Womena to me feels a lot like a home that we've built together.
I know.
It's really personal. It's very intimate. It's very like our whole like hearts and our passions are in everything that we do. And the way that we've evolved it, it's really kind of like how you go into a home and you build it and you make it your own over time and you kind of grow into it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's happened.
Yeah, it feels like chosen family to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, I love you.
Chosen
family, yeah. It does. And I know it sounds so cheesy sometimes when I'm actually getting emotional, but like when business owners will be like, we're a family here and we treat each other like we're a team and there's no I and everything's good. But we all pitch in for each other. The type of belonging that I feel with the Womena team is so unique and is so special, and it feeds my heart so much. And I think that's what's really unique about it, is like we've all come together, we all share in the same mission, we all want to invest and support each other's dreams, and we have similar types of like work ethic to get it done and to figure it out. And it's community,
it's community. And I think that the way we've built it is very, very like authentic and true to our values. I think you cannot really detach the values that we have as individuals and as a team from the kind of content we do and the kind of content we want to do and like the aspirations we have for Womena of what it means to people and to us. So it's very, very value driven. It's very impact driven. Yeah. It's very attuned to the things that we want to see changing in the world. Yeah. And the conversations.
It's kind of like a dream also in that. Like we share values, but we also have this dream for how the world could be and the things that are needed for the world to be a little bit better. And we allow ourselves to dream within Womena. And every year we dream bigger. Every year we come to the plate with more that we want to achieve, and we end up achieving it much faster than we think it's going to be. And like I couldn't be prouder of how far we've come and the stuff that we put out.
Yeah. And I think people always wonder what is Womena, which I think we explained a little bit, but why do we do Womena?
Why is Womena?
Why is Womena? The why is very important. And why is Womena important to you? Like the existence of Womena and sustaining it, despite all the obstacles which we will share and the challenges that we face, but why is it so important?
Honestly, because the patriarchy controls every aspect of global life, and it's a system of oppression that deeply hurts the planet. And I think one beautiful thing that Womena brings to the table is a alternative experience and identity of our community that the world can learn from, and that has so much strength in it that people might be inspired and might feel more connected than they did otherwise to each other. And for me, that's a beautiful pathway to change.
Yeah.
Why should people listen to this podcast?
Wait, I'm going to answer the why Womena question before we move on.
What, was my answer not good enough at this point?
No, it was great. You don't want to hear what I think of why Womena?
No, whatever, Amira.
Cancel that. We're gonna
No, okay, give me
yeah, I think for me, why Womena exists is to kind of tackle issues in a new way, in a more authentic way that represents the community, and that community is women in and from the Arab world a lot more authentically than what we have seen, and that a lot of other spaces will allow. So it's about unlearning a lot of things that we were taught that might restrict us in many ways, or kind of to see new realities and new possibilities for what our lives could be, or how we can shape our own realities without the restrictions of what we were told, like the different paths that we can choose, either this or this or that, and that's it. And what we've seen through the Womena storytelling and by spotlighting the women, different women and what they do, is that there's so many different choices that you can make in life, and that it's very important to showcase that kind of diversity of choice of the different paths your life can take to other women, to younger women, to women even of the same age, just to show that it's, yani society will tell you that you have to maybe like choose certain things, like you have to get married at a certain age, and then you have to become a mother, and then you have to do this and you have to do that. And what we've seen is that that's not the only path. There are different directions your life can take. And why Womena is important is about showing possibilities, basically.
Yeah, you know that old adage of like, you can't be what you can't see?
Yeah.
Literally, that was like the core of the beginning, was making sure that everybody can see all the things that they can be.
Yeah.
And then they're empowered to actually take steps to be those things, even if what they want to be is just happy and themselves.
Yeah.
I feel like the podcast space is already so saturated, but in that, there is still a lack of representation of our freaking community. Like, we have been a voice for a decade now for our community online, and yet there's a big absence of authentic representation with women willing to be freaking real.
I also hope this podcast is a space for people to learn about the behind the scenes and the inner workings of a storytelling platform, a media company, so that they can understand better what they're consuming every day. Everything you see on social media comes from somewhere. It has a creator behind it. It has either a single creator or a production team or whatever. And every one of those has a mindset. They have certain values. They have a strategy if it's like a bigger institution. And you should really understand what you're consuming, like what is being created for you to consume, because every narrative is shaped with something in mind. And we want to be very, very honest about the kind of narrative we're pushing forward, or the shifts in traditional narratives that we're trying to like undo. And hopefully people can see that. It's like media literacy, call it whatever you want, but it's time to like talk about the challenges of media, the importance of regional voices, of authentic regional storytelling, why it's so hard to sustain, all of what it really takes to keep it going, the burnout that can come with it, the guilt that can come with it, all of these things. And so that's what we're hoping to talk about here.
Yeah, but you know what? Okay, so basically, we're going
to talk about it now.
We're business partners.
We're going to end the episode.
We're besties. We work together and all the things.
Yeah.
But what I'm really excited about is to share with you guys this breadth of knowledge and understanding, regional understanding and education, because I like to learn from a lot of the people around me, but you're one of the people who I constantly learn from.
Thank you.
And vice versa. I'm going to say
I
you learn some stuff from me.
I was just
sometimes.
No, I've learned a lot from you, and we've learned from each other. This is what I was saying before.
We've learned together and from each other.
What I was saying before about not necessarily like having not had a focus on gender or feminism or whatever, but then through Womena, realizing that I am a feminist and I'm a feminist-minded woman, and how I identify, the things I expect from life are even things my mother taught me, though she wouldn't call herself a feminist, are very much the core of the true meaning of feminism. So we want to also talk a lot more about that and how that is reflected in the content that we create. Yeah.
Come along for the ride. Come hang out on the couch, grab a poof, drink some tea, and vibe with us.
Not just any tea. Only sage tea is allowed.
And tea and time tea.
And time. Thank you for listening to our first episode of our podcast, Sage Takes Thyme. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe to Amina's YouTube for more episodes. We're going to be dropping episodes once a week for this first season. Tell us what you want us to talk about, if you have questions.
Inshallah, we're going to be sharing a lot, answering questions that you guys send in, maybe some advice, maybe talk about some of our favorite books. It's going to be fluid. It's going to be cool. But the most important thing is that we're an independent media company, guys. We don't take brand money very much. It's not a thing that like keeps the lights on. So if you want to support an independent media company, if you like our community, if you're part of our community, it's really important that you guys do show us love by leaving a comment, clicking the like button, subscribing, subscribe. Find us on Instagram or Facebook or whatever freaking platform that you use.
And send this episode to your bestie or your mom.